We're kicking off with Vince McMahon, who in 1999's Beyond the Mat declared that we make movies when asked about the company, and now the disgraced ex-CEO is set to do exactly that. Since his exit from TKO, fans have wondered what's next for McMahon, and PW Insider reports that the 79-year-old has plans to set up a new entertainment company. Brad Bloom and Kristen Prouty are two former WWE execs who are said to be involved, and Bloom was McMahon's chief of staff until his first retirement from WWE in 2022. Bloom would exit the company at the same time and would return with McMahon in January 2023 when Vince strong-armed his way back to facilitate the merger of WWE and UFC. Bloom resigned his position in May, while Prouty served as Senior VP of Entertainment for years until she was let go as part of a post-TKO reshuffle of executives. The new entertainment company will not compete with TKO Group Holdings. It's said to be focused on fiction and non-fiction products, likely meaning movies and television. This type of project will keep it far from the world of sports entertainment, WWE and MMA, and the company will reportedly be based in Los Angeles, California. As for when fans can expect an official announcement, it's reported that this is planned to happen once McMahon's legal matters are resolved, though there's no word on when that'll be. As he approaches 80 next year, McMahon clearly feels he has more left to accomplish in the world of entertainment, even if it is outside the wrestling world he once ruled over. But what do you think of McMahon's plans? Do you think this non-WWE venture will be a success for the billionaire? Share your thoughts in the comments. Since his appearance at Bad Blood, fans have speculated that Goldberg will wrestle in WWE again, with a match with Gunther expected down the line. Some fans have speculated that Goldberg will cost Gunther his Crown Jewel title match with Cody Rhodes this weekend, setting up a future match, but now we have an update. According to PW Insider, Goldberg is not slated to be in Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel, so whatever plans WWE may have for the pair won't play out this weekend in Riyadh. Over to WWE NXT, and WWE has a special show planned for next Wednesday, which will give fans plenty of reasons to watch the show from the old ECW arena. Now, fans of women's wrestling have a massive match to anticipate, and the build to that match started this week with the in-ring debut of Zarya, who beat Brynlee Reese in dominating fashion. During the match, Zarya seemed to dislocate the elbow of Reese and then grabbed Reese's arm and popped it back with force, showing her strength and dominance over her opponent. Zarya got the win with the F5, only to be confronted by Fatal Influence after the match, and the arrival of Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade spelled trouble for NXT's newest arrival. Kelani Jordan then jumped in to stand by Zarya's side, and Julia and Stephanie Vaquer appeared, meaning that this was now a 4-on-5 situation. The shocking arrival of TNA Wrestling's Jordynne Grace evened the odds, and a 5-on-5 brawl broke out, with Zarya delivering another F5 to cap off the action. Zarya and Grace then tossed Perez into the heels at ringside, and this was an exciting and impactful way to conclude Zarya's in-ring debut. After that chaos, Ava booked a 10-woman tag match for next week's show with Julia, Vaquer, Jordan, Zarya, and Grace facing Perez, Jade, and Fatal Influence. The November 6th episode of NXT is already shaping up to be a huge episode of the show, and with so many superstars packed on the card, it'll certainly be a can't-miss night of television. What did you make of Jordynne Grace's return to NXT? What do you expect to see in next week's massive 10-woman tag team match? Let us know in the comments. Rhea Ripley returned to NXT as a backstage guest this week and gave the quintet of Grace, Zarya, Vaquer, Julia, and Jordan some encouragement ahead of next week's match. Then, during the introductions of this week's main event, a camera rushed backstage, which briefly showed Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez walking away with baseball bats. Rhea Ripley was laying by her car and blood poured from her head, and it was evident that she'd been the victim of a violent assault by the Judgment Day duo. This was hard to watch and was way more blood than WWE usually shows on TV, and a shocked and confused Vic Joseph and Booker T promised fans they'd provide an update. In an update from Corey Brennan of Fightful, it was stated that there was some concern internally about the amount of blood shown, but it was approved. He writes, "There is some concern internally about NXT and the amount of blood shown during Rhea Ripley's segment in the parking lot, but it was greenlit by a higher power on the brand." On Twitter, Morgan poked fun at her nemesis for the attack, as she poked fun at Rhea, calling herself Rhea Bloody Ripley in the past, which now has a very literal meaning. Ripley and Morgan have been feuding over the WWE Women's World Championship for months now, with their feud previously also being about Dominic Mysterio. Rodriguez provided a vital assist in their latest title bout, and with this attack, it's unclear whether Rhea will be out until after Morgan has her match at Crown Jewel. That match will see Morgan take on Nia Jax to determine the first Crown Jewel Women's Champion, but it's clear that her feud with Rhea Ripley is far from over. How emotionally invested are you in the Ripley-Morgan feud? Do you want to see them carry on? Or is it time they both worked with other people? Let us know down below. Now, this week's Raw was not a fun one for The Miz, who was slapped by R-Truth and was ordered by Karrion Kross to find Bo Dallas. Miz was ordered to ask Bo why the Wyatt Six is getting involved in Kross's work, with the former NXT champion even threatening to break Miz's legs if he failed. While on Twitter after Raw, Kross shared a video in which Scarlett informed him that The Miz had been kidnapped by the Wyatt Six. Kross didn't seem too concerned and said he'd look for Miz, but if he can't find him within 10 minutes, he's going back to their hotel room. At this time, the status of The Miz is unknown, and should he have stayed at Raw rather than trying to find Bo, even with Kross's threat? Share what you would have done in the comments. In the NXT Tag Title match this week, Fraxiom took on Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander, with both teams at very different stages in their respective runs. Fraxiom have proven to be a great team for months, but an impending breakup is bound to happen sooner or later, while Evans and Cedric are a new, fresh, and interesting duo. That means the champs had quite the feat if they wanted to retain, and Javon Evans was too much for Fraxiom until Wes Lee showed up to distract the young OG. The two brawled to the back, leaving Alexander to fall to the Brainbuster Golden Ratio combo, allowing the champions to retain their NXT Tag Team titles. Backstage, Evans and Lee brawled, and while Ava tried to break them up, WWE Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam walked up and said, "I know what I want to do next week, you just gave me an idea." RVD then left as the show ended, and his comment comes after an earlier segment with Ava in which he spoke about wanting a spot during next week's show in the ECW arena. This was the best match of the past few days of NXT by a solid margin, and Cedric was pushed to keep up with three of the fastest wrestlers in WWE and showed out more than he has in years. NXT clearly values the young OG with multiple recent main event spotlights, and he showed why in his best showing since the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT title at Heatwave. It's a shame that the finish was so messy, and Frazier and Axiom are back to arguing, as this could have reached even higher heights, and perhaps a rematch is in order down the line. Frazier and Axiom remain a fantastic tag team. Their stories are looping though, and more teams need to step up around them to make this division. What do you think about the match? And what do you think RVD is going to do during the November 6th NXT in the 2300 arena? Sound off in the comments. On the October 4th SmackDown, AJ Styles' return turned tragic due to a scary leg injury following an awkward landing during his match with Carmelo Hayes. It was later confirmed that Styles suffered a Lisfranc injury, which will keep him out for at least 5 months, which comes at an interesting time in the Phenomenal One's career. It's been reported that AJ was booked to have a retirement tour before this injury, and given this setback, some had speculated that we may have seen the last of Styles in the ring. This week, though, Styles made clear that this isn't the case, as he clarified a previous report stating that TNA wanted him for a Hall of Fame induction, but WWE said no. AJ said he was the one to turn the offer down, and while he appreciated it, he doesn't want to be inducted into a Hall of Fame, WWE or otherwise, while he is an active wrestler. AJ may be dealing with another setback, but he won't let this be the end of his in-ring career, and expect a huge comeback once the Phenomenal One is fully healed. But what do you make of this situation? Are you pleased that Styles still considers himself an active wrestler, or should this injury be a wake-up call? Share your thoughts below. Bully Ray was on NXT to offer Trick Williams some hard truths, stating that no one helped him during the Halloween Havoc attack because he is the NXT champion. The title is a target Williams carries, and an appreciative Trick pitched the idea of a tag team match with himself and the WWE Hall of Famer facing Ridge Holland and Ethan Page. At first, Bully turned down the offer, saying, "It's not about me, I'm not here to take anyone's spot," but the situation escalated later in the night in a segment with the heels. Holland and Page gloated about Bully's refusal to fight with Ridge, saying Bully had made the smart move by staying out, which infuriated the ECW legend, who stormed out to the ring. Bully exchanged trash talk with Holland and threw a punch before Page ambushed him from behind, and it was up to Williams to hit the ring to make the save. Fired up by the moment, Bully grabbed the mic and declared, "I'm in," and fans can expect an electric showdown next week in another milestone episode of NXT's CW Network era. What are your thoughts on this exciting tag match? Do you think Bully Ray and Trick Williams will prevail, or will Ethan Page and Ridge Holland spoil the party? Let us know in the comments. Charlie Dempsey was able to hold on to the Heritage Cup during this week's NXT, despite the efforts of Lexis King and Dempsey's own father, William Regal. In recent weeks, King has been having a crisis of conscience after a win and loss to Oro Mensah, as neither man was able to get a fair win, and King has been wanting to change his ways. King had been relying on Dempsey for advice before challenging him for the cup, but King was unable to find a cornerman until Halloween Havoc when William Regal volunteered. Dempsey kept King down in the first round and scored the first fall with 35 seconds left on the clock, and in round 2, the champion started off as more aggressive. King appeared to be injured as Dempsey dumped him over the ropes, and it appeared King hit his ankle or knee on the ring apron and clutched his leg as we went to an ad break. Video of King being attended to by a medical team on the stage, then getting back to the match was shown, and in the final round, Regal attempted to aid King and slid him the brass knuckles. King, staying true to trying to win fairly, didn't take them, and Dempsey rolled up King off the distraction to retain the NXT Heritage Cup. This was more of a piece of business to the wrestling match, but it absolutely succeeded in its purpose of making King more sympathetic as he showed his heart and refused to cheat. Dempsey dominated him though, and Regal's influence was minimal, but the angle still worked, and he has come out of this more interesting than he's ever been. The next step is to move beyond the basic angle, as King should not need to tell the world every week that he is not Brian Pillman and should be able to focus on making his own character. Now, OMOS is literally one of the biggest stars in WWE today, but in recent years, fans have seen very little of the former Raw Tag Team Champion. OMOS hasn't appeared on WWE TV since April, as he was a part of this year's Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and it turns out some names in WWE don't want him around at all. While speaking on the Lame Guys podcast, Bobby Lashley revealed that some people in WWE wanted OMOS fired when he first started, after OMOS accidentally hurt some people in the ring. Lashley wasn't surprised by this due to Omos's huge size and strength, and stated that even he looked like a child when standing in front of the Nigerian giant. Lashley added that some talent complained to WWE management to make Omos look bad with the hopes he'd be fired, and added that he believes he helped Omos improve in the ring. Soon enough, people started appreciating him more, and this comes after Lashley advocated for Omos to be used on TV more, as he believes Omos is too talented not to be used. We'll have to wait and see if WWE will have anything substantial planned for Omos somewhere down the line, as Bobby Lashley feels Omos deserves better. Do you believe WWE should utilize Omos better in the future? Let us know in the comments section below. Back to NXT as Tatum, Paxley, and Wendy Choo kicked off the show with their match, which saw Paxley drag a giant casket to the ring with her. Choo, dressed as Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas, had a bed on wheels, and all of this was just the start of a bizarre beginning to this week's show. The pair faced off in a casket match, the third ever to not feature The Undertaker or Kane, and it was also the first ever women's casket match in WWE history. This match featured a ton of plunder, including a dollhouse, Legos, both of which Paxley was slammed into, as well as the bed Choo brought to the ring. In the end, Paxley used a fire extinguisher to knock Wendy off the casket and sent her crashing through the bed frame before dumping Choo in the casket and closing the lid to win. This was a nice win for Paxley, who needs a consistent push from this spot, as she has outperformed her spot for a while and has earned a title program or a call-up soon. Do you think the casket matches need to be limited to the Halloween season? Please share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. In 2021, WWE launched its Next in Line program to hone the talents of collegiate athletes who may pursue a career in the ring, and now a new program has been revealed. The WWE Independent Development Program, or WWE-ID for short, has been created to provide indie wrestlers a clear pathway to a potential career with the promotion. As part of the program, WWE will partner with Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, the Black and Brave Academy run by Seth Rollins, and the Nightmare Factory School run by Cody Rhodes. Many top names from the indies have found roles in WWE, including Rollins, CM Punk, Kevin Owens, and more. And what do you make of this new program? Sound off down below. When you think of iconic women in wrestling, there are few more respected than Lita, who last competed at WrestleMania 39 Saturday when she won a 6-woman tag match. The former women's champion always gets a huge pop when she makes an appearance, and she too could be part of next week's episode of WWE NXT in the ECW arena. Sean Ross Sapp reported on Fightful Select that WWE has reached out to Lita to pitch a tag team match for her, and Lita did appear for ECW under the name of Miss Congeniality. Interestingly, the proposed match would feature an 8 or 10 woman tag team bout, but a 10-woman match was announced on this week's NXT without Lita's name coming up. Lita was seen at the ECW arena last week, though it was reported that her presence was for unrelated reasons and that the match was discussed throughout the week. WWE is moving ECW to Wednesday to avoid going against the US presidential election, and do you want to see Lita's in-ring return next week? Share your thoughts in the comments section. On last week's NXT, Ava announced a hardcore match between Lola Vice and Jada Parker for NXT in the ECW arena, and shared that Dawn Marie will be the guest referee. Marie won't be the only extreme woman around though, as on Twitter, Francine said that she would also be at the show and called the iconic venue her home. It was back in January 2019 that AEW launched and shook up the wrestling world, with Jon Moxley's debut later that same year drawing a lot of attention to Tony Khan's company. During a recent interview with Youngstown Studio, Moxley reflected on the future of AEW as he believes there is limitless potential for the company to evolve. Moxley also reflected on AEW's growth and emphasized that the company is still in its early stages, providing an exciting opportunity to shape its future. He said, "AEW is still basically a toddler. It's wide open to mold it into whatever we want. There are no rules. We have a whole person to grow into. AEW is wide open and still a piece of clay. There have been a couple of dents in and a couple of fingerprints in it, and it's taken a certain shape, but it's still just a lump of clay, which is a very exciting thing. We can turn it into whatever we want, anything you can imagine. There is no rule of pro wrestling or rule of television. We're putting those rules on ourselves, or they're in our imagination, or they're being dictated to us by somebody else, some outside force who isn't a part of the creative and doesn't have their hands in the clay. If you tune all that out and just look at the clay and use your imagination and go, what can we turn this into? Literally anything is possible." Moxley emphasized that while AEW's current state is important, he is more focused on the company's long-term future and what it'll be in 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. He also expressed optimism about the potential for growth and the new opportunities ahead, including AEW's recent television deal and the streaming partnership with HBO Max. Moxley said it was important to stay ahead of the curve and take risks in an industry that's always shifting and desires for AEW to remain innovative and experimental. He added that this legacy will mean some mistakes are made along the way, but with the company still in its infancy, according to Moxley, mistakes to learn from are bound to happen. With big-time opportunities for growth and transformation possible as AEW continues to push boundaries, Moxley has big expectations, and we'll have to see where Tony Khan takes his company next. At TNA Bound for Glory, Joe Hendry came up short in his pursuit of the TNA World Championship in a decision that has left many frustrated with the company. Given Hendry's viral popularity, many saw the show as the right time to pull the trigger on a title run, but this decision was hardly a last-minute call by TNA management. Sources who spoke to Sean Ross Sapp said that as far back as 2 weeks ago, there was belief that Hendry wouldn't be winning and that Nick Nemeth would still be the TNA World Champion. Whether fans like it or not, Hendry didn't win the big one this month, and it remains to be seen what's next after this major setback. Nikkita Lyons looked poised to pull off an upset against Kelani Jordan, but Adriana Rizzo distracted the Lioness, allowing Jordan to duck the Lion's roar. A split-legged moonsault sealed the win for the former Women's North American Champion, and afterward, Rizzo attacked Lyons as officials tried to break them up. Jordan's evolution from newcomer to reliable in-ring hand was quick, as she is one of the most reliable performers to maximize her opponents. This was rushed, but it's hard to imagine anyone getting more out of Lyons in less than 3 minutes, and this was a strong showing for both competitors with the right winner. Jordan should be protected at main event level, and Rizzo gave Lyons an out while setting up an interesting feud for the next month that could do wonders for both women. North American champion Tony D'Angelo received a tense voicemail from a mysterious family member who felt disrespected and told Tony to show up at the ECW arena next week. The mysterious voice added that D'Angelo should show up with his title in hand, hinting at unresolved family business waiting to unfold in Philadelphia. Tony, who was flanked by Luca Crucifino and Channing Stacks Lorenzo, didn't seem pleased and told his associates that he'll deal with things next Wednesday. Vic Joseph, quick to catch any potential hint, speculated after the segment that it was Nunzio on the phone, who wrestled in ECW as part of the Full-Blooded Italians as Little Guido. With NXT heading to the ECW arena, fans are buzzing about Nunzio possibly making a surprise appearance, and could this voicemail hint at a family reunion or confrontation with the FBI? What do you think Tony D'Angelo's mysterious family message means? Please share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. And that was this week's NXT, and what did you think of the show? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching.